There's something incredibly powerful about consistency. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it is the foundation of everything that lasts. And when it comes to relationships, it's the one thing that tells you who someone really is. A person can say all the right things, make you feel like you're the most special person in the world, but if their actions don't align with their words, you need to pay attention. At first, it's easy to overlook. Maybe he tells you he cares about you, that he wants something serious, that he's different from the rest. And in those moments, you believe him. Because why wouldn't you? We want to believe people when they tell us beautiful things. But what happens next is what really matters. Does he follow through? Does he back up his words with action? Or do you find yourself constantly making excuses for why he isn't showing up the way he said he would? It starts subtly. He tells you he's going to call, but he doesn't. He makes plans, but they fall through at the last minute. He says you mean a lot to him, but he doesn't prioritize you. And each time, there's a reason. He got busy, work was crazy, something came up, and you tell yourself it's fine, it happens. Because it does, life is unpredictable. But then it happens again and again. And suddenly, you realize that his words are nothing more than a script. And if you look closely, you'll see that this pattern isn't just about a missed call or a changed plan. It's a deeper signal about who he is and how he operates in a relationship. See, consistency isn't just about whether he texts every morning or plans dates in advance. It's about how he treats you when it's inconvenient, when life gets messy, when he's not in the mood. Anyone can be great when things are easy. Anyone can make you feel special when it requires minimal effort. But true consistency shows up when it's difficult, when he's tired, when he's stressed, when things aren't perfect. And if you find that his love and attention come in waves, if he's all in one day and distant the next, that's a sign that he's not emotionally reliable. What happens then is you start adjusting, you start filling in the gaps. You remind yourself of the good moments to justify the bad ones. You replay his sweet words in your head, hoping they carry more weight than his actions. And little by little, you lower your standards without even realizing it. You start accepting the bare minimum as proof that he cares. Because when someone is inconsistent, they keep you in a constant state of uncertainty, and uncertainty is addictive. One day, he makes you feel like you're everything to him, and you're soaring. The next, he's distant, and you're left questioning what you did wrong. And without realizing it, you start chasing those high moments, the moments when he's fully present, fully engaged. But here's the thing, love shouldn't feel like a guessing game. Affection shouldn't be something you have to earn. And when you're with the right person, you won't feel like you're constantly trying to hold on to the moments when he actually shows up for you. So what you do when you see this happening, when you realize that the man you're investing in isn't consistent, you stop making excuses. You stop justifying. You stop convincing yourself that one great weekend makes up for 3 weeks of feeling ignored. You start paying attention to patterns, not potential. Because the truth is, if a man is truly interested in you, if he genuinely values you, he won't leave you questioning where you stand. He won't make promises he can't keep. He won't say things he has no intention of following through on. And more importantly, he won't make you feel like you have to fight for a place in his life. Consistency isn't something you should have to ask for. It's the bare minimum. If a man tells you he wants you in his life, his actions will prove it every single day. In the small ways, in the big ways, in the moments that matter. And if you have to wonder, if you have to constantly question where you stand, then deep down you already know the answer, because love isn't a part-time job. It's not about showing up when it's convenient, when it's easy, when it benefits him. It's about being there through it all. And the man who is truly right for you, he won't leave you guessing. He'll leave you feeling safe, secure, and sure of exactly where you stand. You've met someone, you like him, you feel the connection, the chemistry, the excitement when he texts, the warmth when he looks at you. You start seeing each other more often, and naturally you begin to wonder, where is this going? But every time the conversation leans in that direction, he shifts, deflects, avoids. Maybe he jokes about it, saying, "Why do we need labels?" or he tells you he's just taking things one day at a time. And at first you convince yourself that's fine. You tell yourself not to rush things, that he just needs time. But deep down, there's this gnawing feeling, this unsettling uncertainty that won't go away. What we don't always realize is that a man's refusal to define the relationship isn't just about him wanting to take things slow. It's about control. It's about keeping you in a space where he gets all the benefits of having you in his life, your time, your affection, your energy, without ever giving you the clarity, certainty, or security you deserve. He wants the emotional intimacy, but not the responsibility that comes with it. And the most dangerous part, he knows exactly what he's doing. In the early stages, he keeps you engaged just enough to make you feel special. He showers you with attention, sends the good morning texts, makes you feel like you're the only one he's thinking about. But every time you try to understand what this actually is, he backs away. Suddenly, he's too busy to talk. Suddenly, he needs space. He'll tell you he's not ready for anything serious right now. But somehow, he's still more than happy to take up all your time, to keep you emotionally invested, to make sure no one else has the chance to take his place. So you wait, you tell yourself he just needs more time, that if you're patient, he'll come around. But let me ask you something. How many more months are you willing to spend proving yourself to someone who already knows he doesn't want to commit to you? How much longer will you let someone else's indecision determine your worth? A man who truly values you won't leave you in a state of confusion. He won't leave you guessing. He won't create situations where you feel like you have to constantly ask, what are we? Because when a man knows he wants to be with you, he makes it known. He doesn't hide behind vague excuses or non-answers. He doesn't just enjoy your company when it's convenient for him. He makes you feel chosen, not like an option he's unsure about. And here's the part that's hardest to hear. If he's not defining the relationship, it's not because he doesn't know what he wants. It's because he knows what he doesn't want. And that's a committed future with you. If he saw you as the woman he couldn't afford to lose, he wouldn't risk losing you, period. But instead, he leaves you in this limbo, hoping you'll stay long enough for him to keep benefiting from your presence while never having to fully show up for you in return. Some of you might be thinking, but what if he's just scared? What if he's been hurt before? What if he's still figuring things out? And while that might be true, it's not an excuse. We all have pasts. We all have fears. But a man who genuinely wants to build something real with you will work through those fears with you. He won't use them as an excuse to keep you at arm's length while still expecting you to be there when he feels like showing up. Now, I know what happens next. You tell yourself, maybe if I give him more time, if I show him how much I care, if I prove to him that I'm different, he'll finally see that this is worth it. And so you wait, you stay, you invest even more of your heart into something that isn't growing, hoping that one day he'll wake up and realize what he has in front of him. But let me tell you something about men. They don't fall in love through pressure. They don't commit because you convince them to. They commit because they want to. A man who wants to be with you won't let you feel like you have to chase him. He won't make you feel like you're in a constant state of waiting for something more. He won't dangle the possibility of a future in front of you just enough to keep you hooked. And if that's what you're experiencing right now, it's time to be honest with yourself about what's really happening. Because here's the truth. When you allow yourself to stay in a situation where someone refuses to give you clarity, you're not just waiting on them. You're teaching them that you will accept the bare minimum. You're showing them that they can keep you around without ever truly committing. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to walk away. Because now you've invested so much that leaving feels like a loss. But the real loss is the time, energy, and love you're pouring into someone who has already shown you he's not willing to do the same for you. So what do? You take back control. You stop asking for clarity from someone who refuses to give it. You stop waiting for someone to choose you while you put your own needs on hold. You decide that your time is too valuable, your love is too precious, and you are too extraordinary to waste another moment on someone who keeps you in the gray area, because the right man, the man who sees you, values you, and truly wants to be with you, will never leave you questioning where you stand. And the man who does, well, he just made your decision a whole lot easier. If there's one thing that will slowly erode your confidence and sense of self-worth in a relationship, it's when someone makes you feel like you're too much. It doesn't happen all at once. It starts subtly. Maybe you express excitement about something that matters to you, and instead of meeting you with the same enthusiasm, he brushes it off, or gives you a look that makes you second-guess yourself. Maybe you bring up something that upset you, and instead of listening, he sighs, rolls his eyes, or says, "Why do you have to make such a big deal out of everything?" It's these small moments that over time teach you to shrink yourself, to hesitate before speaking, to wonder if your emotions are even valid. And before you know it, you're walking on eggshells, afraid that if you show up as you really are, you'll push him away. This is emotional gaslighting. It's the slow but steady invalidation of who you are. And the most dangerous part? It doesn't always come from a place of outright cruelty. Sometimes it's subtle. It's the indifferent tone, the dismissive response, the way he changes the subject the second the conversation gets too real. It's these micro moments that send you the message: your feelings are an inconvenience, your passion is overwhelming, your depth is too much to handle. Now, what happens when someone makes you feel like you're too much? You start to internalize it. You start to believe that maybe you are the problem. Maybe you do ask for too much. Maybe you should be quieter, more agreeable, easier to handle. You find yourself suppressing your needs, bottling up your emotions, filtering your personality in an attempt to be more palatable. And this is where it gets dangerous, because once you start making yourself smaller to accommodate someone else's comfort, you lose sight of who you are. You become someone you don't even recognize, someone constantly questioning if they're lovable just as they are. But let's flip this for a second. Imagine someone you truly admire, someone you respect, someone whose energy you find magnetic. Do you look at them and think they should tone it down? No. You admire them precisely because they show up fully. They own their opinions, their passion, their emotions. They don't shrink themselves for anyone. And you love that about them. So why would you hold yourself to a different standard? The truth is, the right person won't make you feel like you're too much. The right person will be drawn to your fire, not threatened by it. They'll see your depth as a gift, not a burden. They'll appreciate your emotions because they know that someone who feels deeply also loves deeply. And that's the kind of connection that actually lasts. A man who dismisses your feelings is telling you something very important. He's not capable of holding space for them. And if he can't hold space for your emotions, how is he ever going to support you through life's real challenges? How is he going to show up for you when you need reassurance, when you're struggling, when you just need to be heard? If he makes you feel like your emotions are too much now, imagine what it'll be like down the road when life throws bigger challenges your way. A relationship isn't built on pretending things don't matter. It's built on facing them together. So let me tell you something that I need you to take to heart. You are not too much. You are not too emotional, too intense, too passionate, too complicated. You are exactly as you should be. Your feelings are not something to be apologized for. Your standards are not too high just because they ask for respect. Your love is not too much, it's just that some people are too little to receive it. And that's okay, because the people who are meant for you won't ask you to be less. They'll rise to meet you where you are. They'll love that you care deeply. They'll be grateful that you communicate instead of shutting down. They'll see your passion as something to cherish, not something to quiet. And here's the final thing. You can't be too much for the right person. The right person will make you feel safe in your emotions. They'll respect the things that matter to you, even if they don't fully understand them. They won't make you feel like loving them is an uphill battle. Love shouldn't feel like a constant effort to prove your worth. If someone makes you feel like you need to earn their affection by being less of yourself, they're not your person. Let them go. Because out there is someone who will look at you and think, I didn't know love could feel this easy. And that's what you deserve. If you ever notice that a man only puts in effort when he feels like he's about to lose you, that is not love, it's control. This is one of the biggest traps people fall into in relationships. In the beginning, he may have come in strong, showing interest, sending the right messages, planning the dates, making you feel special. But then, over time, that effort starts to fade. The good morning texts become sporadic, the plans become last minute, and you start feeling like you're the only one trying to keep things going. You tell yourself, maybe he's just busy, or maybe I'm expecting too much. But deep down, you feel the shift. And what happens when you stop trying, when you stop reaching out, when you pull away just a little? Suddenly, he's back. Suddenly, he remembers how to be charming, how to show up, how to make you feel like you're the most important person in his life. And for a moment, you think, maybe I overreacted, maybe he really does care. But then, as soon as he feels safe again, as soon as he knows you're not going anywhere, the effort disappears. It's like clockwork. He only shows up when there's a risk of losing you. This is not effort, this is not love, this is a power game. He's not afraid of losing you, he's afraid of losing the validation, the attention, the comfort of knowing you'll always be there when he decides to show up. And that's a dangerous cycle to be in. A man who truly values you doesn't just fight for you when he's about to lose you, he fights to keep you every day. He doesn't just turn on the charm when he senses you pulling away. He consistently makes the effort because he wants to, not because he's forced to. The way someone treats you when they feel secure in the relationship says everything about their true character. If his effort only comes in waves, only when you're slipping through his fingers, then you are not his priority. You are his fallback. And that is not a position you should ever accept. Love should not feel like a push and pull game where you have to create distance just to get the attention you deserve. You should not have to strategize how to make someone care. The right person will care without you having to manipulate the situation. If you find yourself constantly questioning whether someone is interested, that is your answer. If you feel like you have to leave for him to wake up and realize your value, then he never truly valued you in the first place. What you allow is what will continue. If you stay in a dynamic like this, where you're always the one giving and he's only responding when he feels like he's losing you, then you teach him that this is enough, that this is okay, that he doesn't actually have to step up. He just has to know the right moments to give you breadcrumbs of affection, to keep you holding on. And the longer you accept that, the harder it becomes to break free, because you start convincing yourself that those small moments of effort are enough to justify staying, but they're not. You deserve more than flashes of affection in between long periods of neglect. You deserve consistency. The most dangerous part of this cycle is how it plays with your emotions. When someone withdraws their effort and then suddenly comes back, it creates a high. It makes you crave those moments even more because they feel rare, special, like a reward. And when they happen, you cling to them because you don't know when they'll happen again. That's not love, that's addiction. That's conditioning. That's someone training you to accept the bare minimum and be grateful for it. If you recognize this pattern in your life, step back and ask yourself, do I feel secure in this relationship? Do I feel valued even when I'm not pulling away? If the answer is no, then it's time to stop waiting for him to change, because he won't. Not in the way you want him to. He may give you just enough to keep you hoping, just enough to keep you second guessing, but he will not suddenly become the man you need him to be. That kind of transformation doesn't happen just because someone is afraid of losing you. It happens when someone truly values and respects you from the start. You should never have to wonder where you stand with someone. Love is not a guessing game. It is not about strategy. It is not about waiting for someone to realize your worth. The right person will see your value from day one and will never risk losing you just to be reminded of it. So if you find yourself in a situation where a man only fights for you when he feels like you're slipping away, recognize it for what it is, a sign that he's more afraid of being alone than he is invested in truly building something with you. Do not mistake temporary effort for genuine commitment. Do not settle for someone who only shows up when it's convenient for them. The right person will not make you feel like you have to play games to get what you deserve. The right person will make you feel loved, secure, and chosen every single day. You know, one of the most underrated but powerful indicators in any relationship is how you feel when you're around someone. Not when things are exciting, not when there's passion, not when there's some grand romantic gesture, but in the quiet moments, when there's no distraction, when it's just you and them. Do you feel at peace? Do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? Or do you find yourself constantly anxious, second-guessing where you stand, walking on eggshells because you don't know what version of them you're going to get today? If you don't feel at peace around someone, that feeling is there for a reason. And I'm not talking about the normal nerves that come with liking someone or the excitement of a new relationship. I'm talking about that deeper unease, that underlying anxiety that you just can't shake. It's the feeling you get when their energy is unpredictable, when their affection is inconsistent, when they say one thing but do another, when they make you feel like you're always one wrong move away from upsetting them. People will tell you to be patient, to give it time, to not overthink, but let me tell you something. Your body knows before your brain does. Your emotions are always trying to tell you something. That pit in your stomach, that restless mind, that tension in your chest, that's not nothing. That's not paranoia. That's not you being too sensitive or needy. That's your intuition screaming at you. And the most dangerous thing you can do is ignore it. Because here's what happens when you ignore it. You start rationalizing their behavior. You start telling yourself, well, they had a rough day, or maybe I'm just expecting too much. You start adjusting your needs to accommodate their moods. You shrink yourself to keep the peace. You learn to tolerate the inconsistency, the emotional highs and lows, until one day you wake up and realize you're exhausted, drained, a shell of the person you used to be. And that's when it hits you. This isn't love, this is survival. Love doesn't feel like survival. Love doesn't feel like a guessing game. Love doesn't keep you up at night replaying conversations, analyzing their every word, trying to decode what they really meant. Love is not about being on edge, waiting for the next argument, wondering if you'll be met with warmth or coldness today. The right person doesn't make you question whether they care. You don't have to convince them to show up for you. You don't have to earn their attention, their affection, their respect. It's given freely. They don't make you feel like you're too much for having needs. They don't make you feel guilty for wanting reassurance. They don't make you feel like love is a battle you have to keep fighting just to be seen, just to be heard. The reason this is so important is because the way someone makes you feel in their presence is everything. When someone truly values you, there is a level of calm that comes with that. You don't feel the need to constantly impress them, to prove your worth, to earn their love. You don't feel like you have to compete with their distractions, with their ego, with their past. You don't feel like you're in a constant state of trying to measure up to some invisible standard they've set, but never actually communicated. You just exist as you are, and it's enough. But when someone doesn't value you in the way that you deserve, the signs are always there. You just have to be willing to see them. It's in the way they disappear when you need them most. It's in the way they make you question your own reality. It's in the way they keep you at arm's length, giving just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to make you feel truly secure. It's in the way they make you feel lonely, even when you're sitting right next to them. And the hardest part about this? Walking away when you don't have proof. When there's no big betrayal, no explosive fight, nothing tangible to point to and say, this is why I left. Because sometimes the only reason you need is the way they make you feel. And if that feeling is one of anxiety, uncertainty, and emotional exhaustion, that is all the proof you will ever need. So trust that feeling. Trust yourself. You don't need someone else to validate your experience. You don't need them to confirm that they're bad for you before you decide that this isn't right for you. The right person brings peace, not confusion. They bring security, not fear. They make love feel easy, not like an uphill battle. And when you find yourself with someone who does the opposite, don't wait for more evidence. Don't wait for a reason to leave. The way you feel is reason enough.